Hello. I'm going to lean into
Sir.
shot. Hi. I'm here. We're
Were you,
both
were
in
you out of
shot.
shot?
Well, no, it's very narrow framing.
Yes.
I'm here. You're unmuted.
Hey! We're both unmuted.
Yay. Amazing.
We know
Yeah.
how to do Twitch.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you to me for resubscribing for 32 months.
Thank you, Darly Sam.
You're welcome. But also, and frankly, more importantly, thank you to Squirrel for
Yay!
resubscribing. It's good to see you. I see you saying you're finally back into a stream. Hope you're doing well.
Yay!
La
And Lady Mephistopheles.
Humph? Is
Oh,
that
hi. Yeah, no idea who that is.
Humph? Thank you for 31 months. That's almost 32 months. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lady Mephistopheles as well. Thank you for the 18 months. Much appreciated. It's lovely to see you all. And anyone else who's not resubscribing.
Got everybody. Got Amras, got Salad, got Llama, got Diana, got Andy, got Parola, got Lynn, got Lady Mephistopheles. I think I've just called out everyone.
Yeah, the name roll call. That's what.
Yeah. Are we all present and correct?
Gonna get some music. Well, so what? Sean Mall, who's now raided us a couple of times, so I can talk about him. Who I made Lucy watch one of his streams the other day because he's really good. He's really funny.
Yeah, he is very entertaining.
And he
also the game he was playing was a thing.
Oh yeah, was it Mystery of the Druids, which is a legendarily famously bad game.
Yeah.
The fame is legendary as to how bad it is. He tends to start his stream off with like a bit of a roll call of like everyone in chat, but what it does is they have like a whole bank of like titles and terms that have been concocted over for however long he's been streaming, and it randomly assigns those to each name that it pulls up from chat. So I think I got assigned the Sweaty Goose when he was like meeting me. I was like, great, I guess sure, okay, I'll take that. So yeah, so I don't know, chat, be grateful that we don't do that and call you out in that way. Amras the treacherous dung eater, yes.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a good stream. Highly recommend.
Hello everybody, how are we all doing?
Hello.
Hope we are well. Diana, sweaty?
I didn't say I agreed with it.
No,
I just wasn't in a position to contest it.
So I didn't know geese could get sweaty. I mean, I've never asked.
No. It would be an odd conversation. I don't really know how you'd start that one. But, yeah.
Probably with honk.
Yes. Also, yeah, nobody has asked, but if anyone wanted to ask, currently I keep adding stuff to the soundtrack to see what gets through and what gets muted. But I've just added, the Jusson soundtrack because it's very good, and so I'm starting us off with a bit from that. Basically the main menu music and the title track for the album. Nice. Very good.
Well, Diana's seen a brood of goslings on the way to work. Nice.
Lovely.
Yeah, you're doing good. Woo! Busy work day. Yes. Exciting though. You're having a horrible weekend. Oh no, Salad.
I'm very glad for it. At a glance, I just see that I'm having a horrible week, and then my eyes cut to the smiley face at the end, and I'm like,
smiley face. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks.
I hope it gets better.
Yes, I hope that too.
We're doing well.
Yeah,
between us, we've probably got about, I don't know, a normal human being's like a level of sleep.
We're both tired and probably not feeling the best. So
yeah.
Hey, you know what?
The tiredness you can blame Joey for.
Yeah, don't.
As ever.
Perhaps don't tank up on good but excessive Chinese takeaway for like 2 days straight. It's inadvisable.
Yes, also that.
It's delicious, but inadvisable. Yes. So you know.
Slow day at work, Andy. You're trying to catch up on wikiing. Oh, have fun. Good luck. Sounds like a real mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes. How?
Jinx.
Damn.
Welcome in, everybody. Oh, I've tangled myself up in cables. One sec. I'm doing well. It's all fine. Everything's good. Oh, now it's stuck onto my extension cable. Hold on. Everything's fine. Sometimes you've got to go into a fugue state and eat your body weight in takeaway. Yes.
You said jinx, by the way, so I technically can't speak.
Oh, for God's sake! All right. Really. Sam, darling.
Thank you.
We go.
There we go.
Happy now?
Yeah. Well, I didn't ask for the jinx. I didn't ask to be enjinxed. Oh, this is quite dramatic. This is from Hollow Knight, which I also just added. Anyway, I'm not just going to sit here and comment on the music that you can't even hear.
No, I can't. I have no idea what's going on.
It's weird and mean of me. Yeah. Also, I'm desperately trying. Because we had that thing last time where I kept like mousing over. Why is Discord doing that? I just activated the window. Yeah. I didn't. Okay, my mouse cursor didn't even go anywhere near it, and it still did it.
His full name, Samathan Dali. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. What have we got to talk about today? Do we have anything? I mean, I titled it a reference to the Mark Twain short story that I read the other day. Because
yes.
What are we if not about me? And the things that I do and say and think. Yeah. So, you know.
You are man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You are a white guy on internet.
With additional beard as well, so like...
Sorry, yes, of course. Can't forget the beard.
Double points. You really liked this story, frankly.
I did! I thought it was really good.
I mean, I did too. But like you
did, but you were a little bit worried that like the last bit was just a bit like, oh, this feels a bit
like we talked about it. Yeah, like we talked about it afterwards, off air privately as we do sometimes. And that's it. Like
we occasionally converse.
Yeah, it's been I'll send a text like hi.
You up? No, but yes, what Diana said.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I feel like my position was I see what you were saying about. I mean, like for anyone that didn't hear the story or wasn't privy to the conversation, we should probably give some kind of summary. Which,
yes,
to be fair, it's like an hour's worth of story, so it's a bit to summarize. A pair of Mark Twain short stories. Extracts from Adam's diary, followed by Eve's diary. It is an account by him of Adam and Eve, the biblical first two people in the Garden of Eden, and their... What is this? Oh, it's
Stop getting distracted by the music.
No, I never. You can't stop me. Yeah, it's like Mark Twain's account of Adam and Eve, and it's very Mark Twain. It's very sort of satirical and a bit farcical. It's for one thing, Adam quite likes the place that they are and wishes to call it Niagara Falls Park, but is overruled by Eve, who wants to call it Garden of Eden, and starts putting up signs everywhere like this way to the whirlpool, this way to Goat Island, Cave of the Winds this way. Yeah, keep off the grass, stuff like that. He's not like out and out like sitcom TV dad bumbling oaf, but he's kind of haughty and self-important and he's mystified by the woman who keeps like leaking water from the place through which she sees, and just won't stop talking. But eventually over time he's not the sharpest crown on the box, no, exactly, but he does eventually sort of warm to her, and it becomes quite lovely. And then we get Eve's perspective, and I firstly, as I said to you, I really like that you actually, rather than just get Adam's take on the whole things, where Eve is like a fully developed character, but you actually get it from her side too, and that again actually it sort of moves it away from those stereotypes of man just wants to do man things and the woman's the one, it's like she's intelligent, she's interested, she's curious, she talks because she's fascinated in stuff, and she's just like perpetually curious and wants to investigate things and just sort of knows the name for things and so calls them that. And Adam's theories about the babies were hilarious. I think it's a fish, but Eve won't let me test that it's a fish How do you want to test that it's a fish, Adam? By throwing it in the water and seeing if it swims, of course.
Yes. And Eve doesn't seem particularly happy with that. She's not letting me do it again. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then it's kangaroo. Yes.
Yeah, obviously.
That.
I mean, it kind of looks a bit like us,
and then it's like, yeah. My favourite one is 10 years later. Oh, they were boys.
Yeah.
It's just like, excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
And then, yes, wherever she went, there was Eden. Such a good ending line, though, despite the other flaws. And that's the thing, like, the other flaws, as you put it, were, I guess, the point of discussion between us. Because it's like, to me, what it felt like it was setting up was, like, all the way through Adam's story, he's talking about Eve pointing out to him essentially flaws with their existence, that they are in the Garden of Eden, a place where death does not happen, death cannot exist. And so you have animals like tigers, and Eve is like, look, these lions and these tigers have very obviously sharp teeth that are designed for killing and eating other animals. They are very obviously carnivores intended to eat meat from things that have died or that they have killed.
Yeah.
That doesn't line up with the fact that here in this existence they have to exist on fruit and veg. And likewise there are vultures or buzzards, vultures, whatever. That
different birds.
I know, I just forget which name is used in the book.
They say buzzards.
Right. And she points out again, they're scavengers. They're meant to be eating dead meat, but they are having to exist on fruit, and it is clearly not sustaining them. They're unhappy about this. Like, the existence in which we live is clearly wrong and paradoxical. And to me, that and like other observations and things that came up felt like it was setting up towards a essentially the fall of man, again, as it's put in the Bible, of Eve and then Adam eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and bringing death into the Garden of Eden, and therefore setting about the fall of mankind, where we have to beg and plead God for forgiveness and redemption. Yeah, was actually in fact a good thing, because it enables these beings supposedly created by an omniscient and all-knowing God. Those words mean the same thing.
Little bit. Yeah,
like an all-wise and all-knowing God. Let's go with that.
Or omniscient and omnipotent.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Omnipresent. That's the other one, isn't it?
Omnivore.
Yes.
Yeah. Eats everything. And I've lost my train of thought now.
Omnigeode. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, okay, good. Yep. You take those to what's his name? Clint, thank you. Yeah, and get those cracked open and see what's in there. But yeah, this existence made by this cool god is essentially a paradox. It's wrong, and so by bringing about this supposed fall, this terrible act, that actually it enables everything to live as it's intended to, and within Adam and Eve as well, within their relationship, having that closing line of wherever she went there was Eden, that to me felt like a good, like a summation of that whole point, that it's the Garden of Eden isn't this like created paradise where nothing ever dies and everything's always good and forever and blissful and peaceful, because that can't work out. That your Eden, your paradise, in their case, is found with each other, which they realised and they learned and they felt, and they finally, they warmed to each other. Not in some like, oh, it's a love story and they finally got together, but just they actually learned to love each other and learned that was the paradise they sought, I guess. Yeah. And so that's why I felt so conflicted over like the bit where after the fall, Eve kind of seems, at least as it read to me in the writing, sort of became almost the very, very like stereotypical, like loving, doting housewife who's like, well, it doesn't matter what he does or what he's like because he's masculine and he's mine, and even if he like is abusive to me or stuff, then I'll still love him because he's masculine and he's mine. And it's like that didn't seem to line up to me, and I don't want to like trash the book, because obviously we kind of disagreed over that specific bit, and like you had a different
like. Yeah, so I think, I mean, also after reading that, especially the last line is in sort of tribute to Mark Twain's wife.
Yes.
And like we were talking about this, and like you were saying that like you can definitely read into that in that like it's almost like Mark Twain is I was just gonna say Mark, just first name terms.
Yeah.
Good old Mark. It's almost like Twain is kind of seeing himself in Adam, in that he feels like he's a bumbling fool, and this is how his wife must see him, because he feels like she is like better than him, and like just again like the whole kind of she is finding beauty in everything, and that is wonderful. Like that I kind of agree with you in that feels like he's kind of, I guess, reminiscing about their relationship and how great she is or was. But like I feel like that you can't necessarily there is a lens through which you can see that, but I think that's not necessarily the whole thing. I think the whole sudden switch in Eve's character it's so sudden, and it's so big, and it's deliberately after the fall. Like there is a title after the fall, and suddenly Eve's completely changed. Like that to me feels like a comment on society, and suddenly man's place in society is all like infinitely higher than a woman's, and therefore she's like being told that this is how she should be, and she like the knowledge of the tree of the fruit of the tree and good and evil kind of thing is basically like, I don't know, it feels to me like it's like you are being told your roles now. That's kind of how it read to me. And suddenly because she's completely changed, and I feel like that's a point that is being made there, I think. But your interpretation would be loving someone despite flaws. Yeah, definitely that. But especially within the context of the time, nobody being perfect and valuing what they can offer rather than the perfection. I guess that's a good point. Like the whole kind of I love him because he is masculine, blah 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 blah. I was like, bless him, he doesn't have a whole lot to his name in terms of skills and intellect and stuff, but he's a man, so I guess I love him.
We're kind of like well, he really is the only guy here, but do you know?
But and knowing that Twain, like after this we did a bit of a Wikipedia dive into Twain, because kind of he's a really interesting person in that he started out with kind of your bog standard sort of American white guy views, especially on things like racism and stuff. Well, he just was racist, and just throughout his life that just went, and he was very very good, very vocal about, he just became basically a very progressive person, and had good views. And it's just kind of interesting. I'd be interested, I guess this is probably fairly late on in his writing career if his wife had just died.
We can whoa, I just saw like sheet music. Oh, okay. In another one.
Oh, what?
It's in another story. I was like, wait, what? That's music. That is. I can look and see when it was written.
There's no huge benefit he offers me, but I love him anyway, is a massively powerful thing to own at a time when marriage was an economic and material prospect for women. Yeah, it's very true. The way she talked about him was very tradwife-like. Tradwife? I agree. Like, I agree with there's no huge benefit he offers me, but I love him anyway. Like, there was definitely echoes of that. But I don't know. I feel like there was a shift there that wasn't necessarily like, he's a bit of a lovable idiot, but I love him anyway, to just, I am not worthy of him. There was a bit of that I felt like it was making a point. The whole kind of, if he should beat me and abuse me, I should love him anyway. And it's like, that was the line that Sam was like, oh.
I almost was like, I don't know that I want to read this line like that.
Yeah. But I feel almost that is kind of making a point about like the mentality of the time, and like this is what women think that they should have. Well, not necessarily what they think that they should have to put up with, but this is kind of what the situation that a lot of women are put into. Yeah. Possibly. I don't know. That was my interpretation of it.
Yeah. So like looking in the index of this, the contents, where it's got, I believe, like the writing dates, because both of those were published in, I guess, a collection called the $30,000 Bequest. But Extracts from Adam's diary, it says 1893. Eve's diary, 1905. So they were, like 12 years apart. So yeah, I don't know where that actually lines up with, say, the passing of his wife and how old he was at the time. But yeah, and like, say, ultimately, I think what this leads me to is I would be interested. Well, I'd need to have it presented to me in a way that I actually can consume. But I would be interested to simply know more about Twain and his life and his views from like academics who have studied him and his work and can sort of put it in that context. Because obviously, I don't have a huge deal of like accurate contextual knowledge for the lives and times in which this was written, like his own like his own views, his own experiences, the things that have happened to him to shape his attitudes, and what society felt at the time. Like you've just said, Diane, you know, like as you read out, there's no huge benefit he offers me, but I love him anyway, is a massively powerful thing to own at a time when marriage was an economic and material prospect for women. Like that is true. And that's not necessarily something I would consider, because like for me, with my modern views, I just see her being, I should be the subservient wife, whatever happens, and love my man and stick to my man. And I'm like, that doesn't strike me as a necessarily positive or progressive view, but there are different ways to read that. And like I would like to have someone who really knows this stuff and who's really studied this stuff, like talk me through a bit more of an explainer, because again, it's like if it's like a satirical thing, satire is a very, very cultural thing. Like it is well, it doesn't have to be, but it can often be very much steeped in the lives and times in which a thing is made. It doesn't necessarily age very well, because that context shifts completely over 5-10 years, and the further you go, the further it goes. So yeah, like that's the stuff that I don't know, but I would be really interested to know.
But yeah, I just think it's a really good piece of writing, and I like the fact that this is what I really like with what you've read, at least, of Twain so far, and this is what I really like with a lot of authors who are very good and very funny, who are like they write comic stuff. Like comedy is such an easy lens through which to poke fun at things, and through which to like tear down the bad in society. And it's very, very difficult to do well. And I think very difficult to do well so that people then talk about it, and they talk about it in a kind of, not necessarily in a serious way, but they talk about it with the kind of like, oh, he wasn't just poking fun, he was just making a joke kind of thing. But like, no, actually, there's a point to be made and discussed here, and it's not necessarily because he has said like, I agree with this, but it's just like it's just, again, the way he has written it. It's just like, no, that's interesting, because all of this context and all of that, and it's very impressive to me, the writers who can do that well. And I feel like pretty much all of Twain seems to do that. Like, he's witty, he has made me certainly laugh out loud.
Same.
And I can name writers who do that on one hand. But amusingly, the writers that do that are like Twain, Pratchett, Woodhouse, again, all of these writers who are making a point about society. And it's just very interesting that those are the ones that really, I feel like, really are or have done a really, really good job about like making people think, because they've done it through a much less academic lens, I guess. They've done it in a much more accessible way, because comedy is much more accessible. And something funny is going to reach more people than something that people actually have to sit down and think about. I just really, really like... I just love the fact that he does that.
Like,
Pratchett, my beloved, I know.
Yeah, it's approachable, exactly. Like, far more people will sit down for a comedy than they will sit down for a lecture. Or to be browbeaten about how rough society is and how hard they have it. It's like, yeah, bruv, we know. Life sucks, and all the people above us hate us and are much wealthier than us and keep asking us for more. But you make a joke about it, you turn it into a farce, and you make fun of the people above, then suddenly you've got a bigger audience. So what you were saying, the story that I was going to read and then didn't in the end, might do on a future one, that Cecil Rhodes' Shark. Which I read and was like, I'm not really sure I get it. And then it's about... And
then we looked up about Cecil Rhodes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, wait. Again, talking of, like, context and satire and the time in which a thing was written, the name Cecil Rhodes doesn't mean anything to me. And probably, I'd imagine, there'd be some people in chat going, Sam, you don't know who that is? And other people in chat going, me too. Apparently, hella racist. Like, real
awful man.
Truly awful bigot. And was it...
And Twain did not like him.
Yeah, Mark Twain, not a fan. And so sort of wrote this kind of farcical story about the guy and how he came to his wealth by finding a newspaper and a shark, and using it to sort of play the market and sort of luck his way into a whole bunch of money. And I just sort of read it as like, well, it's just kind of a story about a guy who gets wealthy from fishing out a shark and cutting it open and stuff. Isn't there a Cecil Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford or something? Yeah, that's...
Oh, is there? Oh, dear.
Well, I mean, I'm saying yes because you looked up the whole... Isn't there like a statue of him at Oxford or something?
Yes, there's a statue, of course.
Yes, about that. So that checks out, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I discovered that, like, one of the most famous insults of all time is Twain's insult to Cecil Rhodes. I didn't realize that there's like paragraphs of him just beating him to death with words, basically. Yeah, he didn't like him, but the famous insult is, I admire him, I frankly confess it, and when his time comes, I shall buy a piece of the rope for a keepsake. Like, damn!
Like,
just,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, if I knew more of the history, if I knew more of this time, yeah, like,
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, like if I knew more of that, like the people and the time in which it was written, this stuff would make it, it is also just my own ignorance, frankly, but it would make a lot more sense, and I would be able to much more sort of quickly key into, like, oh, yeah, okay, he's making this guy look a fool, right? I get it. This is the Mark Twain diss track. This is him, like, cutting someone down to size. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So
this guy started De Beers. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Great.
So
yeah, he just sounds like an absolute piece of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, Twain, especially, and I think this is another thing about comedy writers who write satire and comedy and stuff. It's like, obviously, just by the nature of the thing, you're going to be making jokes that are current.
Yeah, especially if it's like political satire or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be talking about politicians, like.
Yeah, it's what we found with, like, rewatching Fry and Laurie. Although the irony of that is, they still mention a Rees-Mogg, and it's like, oh, nothing's changed. Great. But yeah, like, that's the thing. It's like there are definitely jokes in there that go over our heads because it's like, I don't know what politician that is.
Yeah.
It's definitely a politician, or it's a.
Yeah, it's like rewatching old episodes of
or something. Yeah,
like rewatching old episodes of Spitting Image or something like that, or any sort of Rory Bremner, something like that. Even from the 90s, there'll be just a whole bunch of politicians. Like, I don't who is this guy? Like, firstly, like, who is this person? What party were they? What actual views did the party hold? Because again, boy, those things shift and spin over the years.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Oh, the meaning of life is a scorching satire of contemporary issues in the 70s. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monty Python is very good at that. Even though, yeah, as you say, some aspects haven't particularly aged well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's, and it's, yeah, and it's so difficult because I think with writers it possibly is, I don't know, maybe easier because like you can read things so many different ways.
Yeah.
But it like I know people who are just like, oh no, Twain's awful because Huckleberry Finn uses bad words. But it's like, isn't the point of Huckleberry Finn that he is basically making a point about slavery and the lot of black people in America in a way that's like anti-racist and anti-slavery, and like
I haven't read it or read, like I know I know of it, so that's the thing, like that's that's the thing, like that's like I can't I have no real sort of comment on it, having not read that specifically or really much about it.
Kind of fascinates you that Huckleberry Finn has become such a flashpoint in that. Well, also another thing that I found out by googling Twain is his dad was I think fairly bigwig in like the slave industry. Like he was a slave owner and stuff, and Twain went from that to, oh no, racism is bad. Slavery is bad. And it's just like, obviously it shouldn't be a well done, you did a good job kind of. We shouldn't necessarily applaud people because, you know, that's the basic human decency.
You
thing.
Cleared the lowest bar. But
there is a very low bar, but again, product of the time, product of upbringing, all that kind of stuff, to get from point A to point B, rather than I'm at point A, I'm going to stay there for the whole of my life, because there were so many people who did just that in that time because it was the easiest thing to do, and they couldn't be bothered and they didn't care. But like, to be, I mean, I guess to be someone who's doing any kind of creative arts type thing, you're gonna have lots of different viewpoints in theory, hopefully, and you're going to be, I mean, to be fair, most creative people are somewhat left wing. Just kind of comes with the territory. So like, I feel like anybody is going to be funneled down that route, and it's like, oh wait, no, bad stuff is bad. But it's just kind of, it's just nice to kind of see that was his sort of trajectory, and then as like people saying like, well, this uses bad words, and it's kind of missing the point. So obviously, we don't want to use words that are incredibly racist and awful. But also, if the whole point of the story, or writing or any other kind of art, is to basically highlight the plight of like black people, ethnic minorities of any kinds, it just happens to be using a word that was used all the time at the time. If it's an anti-racist book, surely we should be focusing on that more than we should be focusing on the word. And obviously we're talking about it because like as white people, and obviously it's not really our wheelhouse. But I feel like we're in a society now where so many words are so like, don't touch that with a barge pole, and it's like, well, what's the underlying message here? So
it's I mean, I feel like so ultimately it's kind of a whole conversation that I think we'd all agree on, but frankly it does make me aware of like how pale the two faces on screen are, and it's it is a difficult one for us to like fully kind of discuss and dissect as we are, because we've only got our own viewpoints on it, and it's a tricky one.
Andy, you have read it. It's very anti-racist, albeit in the vernacular of the time. That's the thing I've been led to understand. It's good. And judging historical works by modern standards is kind of an error in approach. Things are written in a social context. Well, because it's the nature of the time we're in now, isn't it? It's because we're in the social media age, and we just snap react to everything without actually checking for nuance or anything like that. Oh, the book doesn't celebrate the language either. Oh, that's good. And yeah, white people were just ignoring. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
we speak for yourself. Well, yes. I mean, collectively, as a society. But yeah, but it's kind of interesting to me. Sorry, still on the subject of the Adam and Eve thing. It's kind of interesting to me as well that you were the one to go, maybe I shouldn't read this.
Yeah.
As a man, I mean, obviously, because you're in the position of I don't want to. Oh, sorry, of course, and masculine.
Yeah.
That is obviously why I love you, and the only reason. Not that you have a cat or anything. But that's like the fact.
He's elsewhere. Sorry? He's not in here today. Sorry, he's elsewhere in the house.
Damn, Joey.
No.
Yeah, like that's that kind of interesting that it's. I mean, obviously, it's good that you, as kind of the I don't even know, like the person who should be kind of more aware of your language in this situation, because you're the person. You're not the. It's not a minority. That's the wrong word. You're not the
marginalized.
There we go. In this particular situation.
Yeah.
And yet you're the person who is going, that's I shouldn't. And like me as a woman having the response of, actually, I think we should give this the benefit of the doubt. It's kind of an interesting one to me, because like, I mean, again, obviously you just want to make sure that you do the right thing and you don't make people uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah. But it's, yeah, and it's kind of interesting that, like, basically it's the whole kind of let the people who are being marginalized in this particular scenario, let them actually have a voice and speak up for themselves, and actually listen to them, rather going, oh, well, they've said that, but I think it should be this way, kind of thing. And it's just like, that's again the sort of thing with Huckleberry Finn. It's just like, well, actually, maybe have a listen to, although sadly, obviously, the way that society was and has been for a while is that those voices are just ignored or just completely muffled.
Well, it's things like if like, you know, often comes up as like, should it be taught in schools? And it's like, well, I feel like really if you're going to be teaching it in schools, it should probably be like black scholars actually teaching it who can give it a greater, not like should it, shouldn't it, should children be reading this word aloud. It's like, well, let's actually get some people who are frankly the descendants of those about whom essentially this book is written, and people whose lives are actively harmed by the use of these words to give it some context like that. And actually and you know, that feels like a better approach to it. Rather than a kind of we can't say anything nowadays approach. Yeah. What we can agree on though is that elephants hate cops.
Sam enjoyed the elephant story.
I really enjoyed this. That was on like the previous week, wasn't it? The stolen white elephant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There were some very good lines in that.
That like I
just stepping on everyone.
Well.
Squish.
Yeah.
Elephants say ACAP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elephants seem to hate everything except for eating. Elephants are great.
Just the elephant busting up. I've talked about this one so many times, but yeah, the elephant busting up the funeral.
Yes. But there's plenty of material for another one or something, was it?
Yeah, it's like Burke, because like the two cops had just like basically cornered the elephant, because to claim a reward, and it's like, you know, Burke instantly arose to his feet, seized the tail, and exclaimed joyfully, "I claim the writ," but got no further. For a single blow of the huge trunk laid the brave fellow's fragments low in death. I fled rearward, the elephant turned and shadowed me to the edge of the wood, making tremendous speed, and I should inevitably have been lost. But the remains of the funeral providentially intervened again and diverted his attention. I have just learned that nothing of that funeral is now left, but this is no loss, for there is abundance of material for another. Meantime, the elephant has disappeared again. Like,
I love it.
It's so...
I just love the idea of someone grabbing it by the tail as well. I was like, really?
Like, I've got it.
You think that's going to stop an elephant?
I have the elephant now.
Bang! Yeah, the end was sad. Yeah,
it was
very sad. I didn't want to see the elephant hurt at all.
No.
Yes, sadly. But yeah, it was just great.
Yeah.
And just the framing of the whole thing is just like kind of like a murder mystery type thing. Is like, but but it's just a runaway elephant. Oh no, it was a murder mystery, missing persons.
Yes, it's the
age
elephant.
of the elephant, parents of the elephant.
Well, because it sets it up with like an elephant has been stolen, and
oh yes,
and it's like and we believe the thieves got in and stole the elephant some way, but it's nothing to do with the massive hole that's in the cage. That's coincidental. It's nothing, but the elephant was stolen.
Yeah. I just love it.
Yeah.
It's just very, very good.
Oh yeah, it's like talking about what does he eat?
Yes.
Well, he eats anything. well, that's what he eats. He will eat anything. He will eat a man. He will eat a Bible. He will eat anything between a man and a Bible. Good, very good indeed. But too general. Details are necessary. Details are the only valuable things in our trade. Very well. As to men, at one meal, or if you prefer, during one day, how many men will he eat if fresh?
Yes.
He would not care whether they were fresh or not. A single meal, he would eat 5 ordinary men. Very good, 5 men, we will put that down. What nationalities would he prefer? He's indifferent about nationalities. He prefers acquaintances, but is not prejudiced against strangers. Very
so
good. Now, as to Bibles, how many Bibles would he eat at a meal? He would eat an entire edition. It is hardly succinct enough. Do you mean the ordinary octavo or the family illustrated? I think he would be indifferent to illustrations. I think he would not value illustrations above simple letterpress. It's
so good.
It just goes on.
It's fantastic. Also, good night, Diana. Sleep well.
Good night. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that so much. And then, what was it? It was elephant's parents or something. It's just like description of elephant. It's like, I mean, it's an elephant, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just gonna have to sit and.
So I'm just gonna read the whole.
Yeah. Sorry. I just.
Yeah. You need that book for yourself, so you can have a sensible chuckle whenever you want. What book is it?
Well, I mean, this is just a Penguin Classics Mark Twain short stories. It's just a whole tome collection of short stories by him.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much. I love the fact that that recently we have sort of, with our short story reading, we've just discovered authors and just not stopped reading them. It's just like, well, we've run out of stories from this author. Let's find another one that we've just decided we love.
Yeah.
Well, and I just like the fact that we've gone for not outrageously queer, but very obviously queer, and then Mark Twain. It's like, savage.
That's the thing. Like, obviously, Mark Twain is another one who just like exists in like the background cultural radiation. He's like he's just you have heard of Mark Twain. You know what he looks like, even if you've never seen a picture of him. You've never encountered the name. Someone says it to you. It is there, steeped into your genetic memory.
Yes.
It like you just is that Colonel Sanders looking dude? Right? Yeah, got it. Of course. But up until now, I had literally never read any of his stories. It was, as far as I can recall, never taught to me in school. And so I had literally never encountered that, and it's honestly something if left up to my own devices and just like reading to myself for a hobby, I probably wouldn't have, because I tend to stick to what I know.
Yeah.
And what I know is largely like, frankly, sci-fi and comedy horror. So that's the narrow pool.
It's not the elephant story comedy horror.
Well, from a certain point of view. So
like a cross between Einstein and Colonel Sanders. Yes, that is exactly what Twain looks like.
Yeah. Just like wild hair and a big moustache that he apparently had for a lot of his life. Even like early pictures of him, he's still got just an enormous moustache.
Man knew his look and stuck to it.
Yeah, exactly. He had a brand, and so that's the thing. Like I don't think I would have ever really got round to reading something by Mark Twain. And again, even there, knowing he's the guy who wrote obviously the much discussed Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, and it's like, okay, I know that people, I think I would know that like people refer to him as like comedy or satire, or someone who is like known for like a real sharp one-line zinger, that kind of someone who would put people down. That sort of like Hemingway like wit, that kind of thing. But mainly I know him as the guy who wrote Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
And so it's actually in reading this, I'm like, oh, I'm actually learning a lot about someone who I feel like I probably should have known about, but wouldn't have known about.
I think also because writing. Yeah, I think also because he's such an American author.
Yeah.
Like, he's such a sort of American.
And we reject that completely.
Well, that's the thing is, I feel like in general, like we have, for me, I would say he has a very British wit.
Yeah.
Just in the way he writes, it feels like a very kind of British sense of humor.
Yeah.
In his satire, and I think that's.
This is a compliment, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because as we all know, British wit is the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah. But
we're awful.
There we go, Andy. He's one you can't get through American school without reading at least some of his stuff. Yeah, that's the thing. Is I feel like he's very much an American staple, but we kind of have our own twains over here. In that we have quite.
Yeah, they're usually run by British Rail.
Ah ha ha. Yes, sometimes when they feel like it.
Yeah.
But like that's narrows eyes in American. Look, I'm not saying American humor's bad, but yeah, like I think we have a lot of authors who write in a similar vein to Twain.
Falls mainly on the.
Yeah. So I think
throw him to the ground.
Yes. I think maybe we're a little bit more. Oh yeah, you said British Rail, no National Rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
only if it were nationalised.
That's me showing my age.
British Rail, but yeah, and I guess that's probably why we don't come across them so much in
I'm trying to think.
British schools. We just got Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, obviously, and Shakespeare is very funny. Yeah, but if you get it.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of the time
a bit less accessible.
Yeah, like the comedy in Shakespeare's, and even like Chaucer, studying Chaucer in English Lit,
A
level English Lit, like you can tell me they're funny, and I'll believe you, and every now and then I'll be like, oh yeah, no, I get that. You're saying a thing that's not true. Nice one, but the jokes are a lot harder to get, I feel, for your average school student for like Shakespeare. And I'm just trying to think.
It's a different language.
And I'm trying to think, like, if for instance, like these short stories that I have been reading here, like if these were taught, like when you say like Twain is taught in American school, what kind of things is it? Literally just like Huckleberry Finn? Because I don't even know how funny that is. Because that to me, I'm under the impression it's more of just like an adventure, like it's kind of like a young boy's adventure kind of thing, rather than necessarily funny or satirical. And like again, what stood out to me about these is that a lot of them are actually just very funny, very satirical, and very, very, very dry, very deadpan, very sarcastic. And I'm just trying to think, like, what I'm trying to think of an author that we might have been taught in school that I would think of as also being funny. And I really don't think it's all.
They really don't like making kids laugh.
No, like that. Had we been taught something like, if you teach kids Douglas Adams, teach kids Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Terry Pratchett, and I guarantee
you'll get some writers out of it.
Guarantee you would get so many more kids paying attention in English classes. And we instead no, we've got to do. Yeah, we have to do Shakespeare. We have to do Austen. We have to do Bronte. We have to do. Oh,
hey, we found out that Austen's funny. Okay.
Okay, yeah, but it's kind of it's difficult to get to a group of school kids.
Yes. Dickens is.
I don't.
But yeah, again, you have Molière and Maupassant.
Oh,
and also Émile Zola. Okay, fair enough. I mean, Molière's just, very French humour.
We did do A Tale of Two Cities. But again, like the humor in that wasn't in any way. It was just writing a thing about. That's
not particularly funny. I would say
the whole book. Yes, it's very dark. But there were bits early on that were funny, like the courtroom scene.
Oh, yes,
yes. But instead, I just remember like writing things about the whatever his name is, hot chocolate, and stuff like that, and the bit early on where it's talking about whoever his name is having his hot chocolate made, and just what a luxury that was for the time. And
I should know, I read it recently.
Yeah, and it's like there is obviously a lot of Dickens that is very funny, but you don't teach that in school. And like there's contemporary stuff that would be really, really good and really, really worthwhile to teach kids in school, but it's like, no, we have to do all the classics, and we have to find the driest, boringest classics and teach you that.
Well, and not even that. It's like we have to find the driest, boringest bits of the driest, boringest classics.
Yeah.
It's just like, really? Because this is like, as whoever it was just said, Llama. Shakespeare's funny when you're older and watching it as opposed to reading it. Yeah. Shakespeare's works are plays. Yeah. They are meant to be watched and acted. They are not meant to be read.
Oh, but that's where you say, right, Sam, can you read the next bit? And it's like, and now I'm sat in front of...
Umika.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome in and thank you.
And you get the awkward, for most people, unless you're Lucy, so you're on that side, the awkward school kid sat in a classroom of school kids reading the next bit from Shakespeare.
In the most deadpan, I don't want to be here voice possible.
I don't want to be here, I don't want anyone to hear me, and I'm now going to read from the book, and some of these words I doesn't know how to pronounce, and it's like, no, that's actually very funny. That's a very funny line if you know what you're doing, but I'm a child reading this for the first time in school, and I'm tired, and that's just the worst context to try and get any of that juice out of it.
Yeah. Shakespeare, well done, is amazing. I agree. Especially the comedies. They're very, very funny. But Emma is flat out a comedy by Jane Austen. Yeah. No, it's a satire. Jane Austen doesn't do laugh out loud comedy. but yeah, of the time, I guess. But yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just like, do the things in the format that they should be. Again, Chaucer is not meant to be read, it's meant to be acted. And also, frankly, Chaucer is just button dick jokes the entire time. Like, Chaucer is not witty particularly. It is, I made a funny joke about someone's bum. Sorry, Chaucer.
What?
You definitely joined the recent Emma movie.
Word,
I did too.
Fart.
Yes.
But with an E on the end to make it classy.
And 2 T's.
Yes.
Yes. You laughed out loud at Mrs. Bennet's not enjoying talking to people. Yes. What's the thing? Like, Jane Austen just does the perfect character studies. Like, yeah. You would never have known Richard III is hilarious. Oh, really? I haven't read / watched Richard III. People only still read Chaucer because it's really old. Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. Chaucer, they made plays about that guy from A Knight's Tale. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. You're listening to the last...
A good presentation of Chaucer. Sorry, yeah.
Yes. You're listening to the last Pride and Prejudice VOD today, and you can only agree it's so much better. It's yeah. I am sold. It is good. But yeah, like, because the thing is as well, with like more contemporary stuff, or even stuff like Twain.
Sorry, everyone. Choo choo.
Yeah, I know. It's. Very
I've ruined the guy's name now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sam Clemens.
I like Twain's. Yes. Yeah. Also, fun thing if you want. People want to Wikipedia like why he called himself Mark Twain.
I don't know
that. He was a pilot on a Mississippi barge, or a barge of some description, and that was something that I think they called out. It was a certain mark to do with something, I can't remember exactly. Yeah. But yeah, and he called himself that. It's kind of cool. Yeah. You just did that so you could emphasise he's got the same name as you.
Genuinely didn't.
No, there you go. But what was I going to say? Yes, but like so many of these writers who write more comedic stuff, who write witty stuff, who are more contemporary, or maybe not, they play with language in a way that is just... I mean, sure, Shakespeare does, but the language Shakespeare is using is very, very, very different. Obviously, Chaucer is more different, but is very different from the language we use today. Like, if you're going to try and enthuse kids about the English language and English lit, like literature in general, and frankly, like other cultures' literature as well. Like decent translations are great. Like every bit of French stuff, I mean, mainly Count of Monte Cristo, but also like Voltaire. You can tell it's French because it's got another certain kind of humor, and it's playing with language in a slightly different way. But they do it with such enthusiasm and such love, and you can tell. Like again, Woodhouse. I'm just going to use him as a good example. Woodhouse, Dickens, Pratchett. That they're all having a lot of fun with what they're writing, and like, there's no point making it. Why would you go out of your way to try and make something as universal as language? Obviously everybody's got their own language, but language boring. Like, we play with it in speech all the time, we make jokes all the time. Why does literature have to be this separate thing that there's devoid of humor and fun, and try and teach that to kids? It's like, that's completely the backwards way of doing it.
Seeing Hoshibera, actually, the importance of being earnest. I'm pretty sure we studied. I remember doing that. I'm trying to remember whether it was GCSE or A level. And I think that's like the only thing that I can think of we did that would be a comedy, I guess.
We went to see. I remember a school trip. I think it was a school trip, or maybe it was with my family or something. Anyway, I remember going to see The Canterville Ghost.
Right.
I was like, well, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Who's this Oscar Wilde guy?
Yeah.
It's just, again, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. But yeah,
the Fry and Laurie thing about language.
Yeah, and like that, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, like if you're comedy is rife with wordplay, as you say. Like, just bringing up that point, and like that. Therein lies a really fun and fascinating tool to teach language. Like that's the two are like so inextricably linked.
Yeah.
Like they like it reminds like there's I do not recall the source to cite it. It would just be someone on like a forum or a post somewhere on the internet like 20 or 30 years ago. Talking about how, like, they were either like a science or a history teacher. It's real vague on most of the details in this. Don't worry about that. They're all unimportant. But they were talking about how, like, for whatever like year of class they were teaching in science or history, they would take a bunch of Far Side cartoons, which I know, Lucy, you're not that familiar with. The Far Side cartoons by Gary Larson.
I know of. Yeah.
And usually usually silly, kind of absurd, but a lot of them involved just some kind of little bit of knowledge. For example, there is a cartoon with like cavemen, and basically the spikes on the end of a dinosaur's tail, I believe, are called the Thagomizer now, literally because of a joke made in a Far Side cartoon about them being used to kill like Thag Johnson, a caveman, something like that. And I guess paleontologists are like, we don't actually have a name for that, so we'll call it the Thagomizer.
Paleontologists will call anything.
Well, yes, but in this case they did that.
That's amazing.
And this was like a teacher of either history or science who at the start of term would put a bunch of cartoons up on the wall for the students to look at when they came in, that they would be like the teacher would be teaching that semester. So the students could come in and see these cartoons and effectively go, I don't get it. And then at the end of term they could walk out and go, oh, I get these now. And I'm like, I want that for English. I want that for English lit. Like take a bunch of like jokes and word plays from these things and put them up on the wall so that you go, I don't get that. And then over the course you'll see people going, oh, and like it's comedy. It's a real good, powerful tool, and we treat it so poorly.
I mean, this is it's the same as music. Laughter is universal. everybody laughs.
Yeah.
Unless they literally can't, but everybody can. So
yeah.
Laughter and some kind of musical behaviors are kind of interlinked. Fun fact, actually. But yeah, like they think some academics, scientists, whatever, think that like laughter and music, like sort of one came out of the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everybody laughs. It's a wonderful touchstone to use for. I mean, obviously everybody's got a different sense of humor, but everybody can still appreciate, if you teach it well, a well-constructed bit of wordplay or something. Use that. Why don't we use it? It's one of our superpowers.
Yeah, well, it's like,
Nice one,
as you say, like
doing the good work,
appreciating a good bit of wordplay, or helping someone. Like it can work both ways. It can be like, oh, I understand these components. Oh, here's how they work when you use them in some kind of clever twist of a wordplay. Or here is a sentence, I don't get it. Okay, well then here's all the meanings that put this together. You can deconstruct it and use it to teach. And also, Hoshiba, I see what you're saying there about translations of works. Like, well, that's and so, works translated into German. Older translations are really good, but struggle with the English books because too many words you don't know. Yeah, like that. I mean, that, if nothing else, highlights the skill of a good translator. That it's not. Again, it's a work that is so undervalued, I feel, by a lot of people, or like underappreciated because you just don't think about it. It's like, well, you just change this word for that word, don't you? Nah, because you're not just changing a language, you're kind of bringing it into a different culture where, also there's so many different ways to say a thing, and each culture is going to have so many different ways to express ideas that might not make any sense to anyone else. So it's not just like replace that word with this word and reconstruct the same sentence, but you've actually got to know both sides to know, like, how does this joke work? What are the components? What are the moving parts of this joke? It's just hair slims. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there we go. But what are the components of this joke? How do they actually fit together and work? Within like the culture that was written to, the audience that it was intended. Will that carry across? If I make fun of, I don't know, if I make fun of Margaret Thatcher or a Margaret Thatcher-like politician, reaching for the real relevant modern day cuts.
Oh yeah.
Is that going to land the same way? If I make that joke in the 1980s, in the 1980s, it's not going to land the same way as it would now. If I make it now in English, it's not going to read the same to someone who doesn't have that context. And it's like, do we need to change? If you just like rewrite the sentence and still point it at someone called Thatcher, say, is it going to work the same if you translate it into German or French or Spanish or something? Like, no, do we need to actually point it to a similar figure in that culture?
Can't even imagine translating Discworld. Yeah, I can imagine that's a very difficult thing. Also, there's so many layers. You also hit on another good comedy author, Waugh. Evelyn Waugh. A lot more... Actually, it was a lot less kind of, well, it is slapstick, but in a kind of a little bit more less sort of overtly comic way, I guess. But yeah, Evelyn Waugh, another very good author. Scoop is fantastic.
I've seen Lama's bold claim that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in French translation is actually better than the English original.
Ooh, I
said it before.
We might have to fight you on that one.
I mean, I'd have to read it, frankly. And I'm going to be honest. I think this is where Lama beats both of us, possibly being more fluent in French and English than either of us in French. So, I'm gonna take your word for this one. Okay, you win. Fine.
Salad, explain. Dutch Seamstresses Guild. the translator made more jokes, and they are actually Douglas Adams' level jokes. That's bold.
That's styling.
Like,
nice.
I'm just gonna sneak in some more jokes here. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, if there's a book fit for it, it's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To start like sneaking in more things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Umaka. Oh, Llama, you may have accidentally caused a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if... Oh, very good. Okay. Pratchett was very chuffed. The one Dutch thing that Pratchett learned. Nice. Excellent. Good job, Pratchett.
Right.
Okay, when translating movies, there's a common tactic used called localization. If there's a joke that doesn't land in the target culture, replace it with the joke that lands there. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's true. Yes, I've heard of localization. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess mainly from the games industry. I'm sort of familiar with it as a term, but yeah.
Yeah. But it just feels like it's... I mean, we bemoan the way that pretty much everything is taught in this country, or not taught in the case of music. And it just... Yeah, it's all kind of going down the drain, but like it just feels like a very obvious, like, yeah, a very obvious touchstone to use. Just like, teach some comedy.
Yeah.
Just teach some funny stuff.
Yeah.
Kids like jokes. Everybody likes jokes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Your sister is a Japanese translator and basically has to rewrite the whole book, so cultures are so different. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say that, yeah, again, like, yeah, teaching comedy, it feels like a really good tool to use, because, say, firstly, people like jokes, people like to get jokes, and obviously a joke that you have to explain loses its impact.
Yeah.
Unless the explanation is a part of the joke, but that's starting to get to new levels. Let's walk before we can run, and so there is that, but like, yeah, say people like to get jokes, people like to understand jokes, and quite often the manner in which those jokes are made are using the language as a tool, as a basis to, like imagine, like direct your attention one way and then send it another with with wordplay, with puns, and
don't say it.
What?
You'll summon him.
Oh yeah, true. And again, I feel like one of the only example I can. I mean, I was not. I was not. It may surprise you to know I was not a good student in school. I did okay in the end, but I wouldn't say I was particularly attentive in any class and never really wanted to be there. So I'm probably not a good example to be talking about like what I feel was necessarily taught well or badly in school. But I just remember being very bored. And when it comes to like jokes and wordplay and things, the main thing I remember is having it explained. I think I've talked about this before, that in one of Shakespeare's plays in which Falstaff makes an appearance, Falstaff talks about having enough wine or something to sack a city, or enough to sack a city, and it's like, well, you see, this is a joke, because to sack a city, that is obviously to siege and overthrow a city, but also sack is a drink, and Falstaff likes to drink, so it's a joke, and you're like,
yeah,
cool. I guess I should laugh because the man made a joke that you told me he made a joke, but like that's not, and it's like that's it. This is the bumbling oaf of a character who shows up to sort of, hello, it's me, I'm Falstaff, I'm going to make jokes, and then I'm going to go again. And that's not teaching comedy. That's just like pointing out a joke that has been made and then moving on with your life. And it's like, get some Pratchett in the classrooms, get some Hitchhiker's Guide in the classrooms. That's what you should do. Exactly, all according to Kotaku.
Yeah, but. Yeah, that's the thing, but it's kind of... It's... So many secondary school English lit teachers don't understand the point of their classes, or at least aren't able to use the curricula to achieve those ends. Yeah, like the curriculum itself is usually kind of crap, and you have to tick certain boxes, and it's very, very difficult to work out something interesting that can tick those boxes at the same time and do the things that you wanted to do. And yeah, like teachers have it hard. Like there's no two ways about it. It's a very difficult situation. Yeah, many of them are just teaching a list of books because that's a list of books you're supposed to teach. Yeah, and a lot of them are just like, well, we need to keep our jobs, so we'll just keep doing that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to me that you as someone who, yeah, you say you were bored by school a lot of the time, but now, like you're a words person, I would say. Like you enjoy words, this is just me saying that Sam talks a lot. No,
I've got a Shure SM7B in front of me and a pair of headphones on and a camera pointed at my face. You try and stop me from talking and speaking about my opinion. And another thing that's wrong with this country.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my point being, like, sure, the education system in a way kind of failed you on that. It didn't infuse you.
I feel like it's a mutual failing. I also failed them.
Yeah, but my point being, there was obviously still kind of like, I mean, you still read books. I mean, sure, they weren't like highbrow or classic literature or anything like that, but you still read books and you enjoyed them, and you obviously, like, yeah, that never went away.
Yeah.
And again, if someone at school if a teacher at school had just latched on to something there that you'd actually been able to access and go, oh, okay, I get that because this is the stuff that I read, or this is in the stuff that I read, like a joke or something, just something like that, then suddenly you've got a kid on board and you've got someone who could, like, doesn't have to suddenly go later in life as like, oh, wait, no, I'm good at this and enjoy it. Like, that's the shame of, like, the very dry way in which we teach English lit. It's like actually seeing, because like you write well as well. It's like you know what to do with words, not just like, oh, I like words. And just kind of a shame that wasn't sort of encouraged or taught in a better way earlier. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who have the same experience.
And again, on that, I feel like I'm a difficult one because as soon as someone asks me to do something, if it's something I want to do, I don't want to do it. Like, if I'm like, oh yeah, if a teacher had said to me, like, Sam, what do you like reading? Oh, I like reading sci-fi. Oh, great. Well, then here's some really good sci-fi books that might interest you for English. I would probably not read those books. I'd be like, this sounds like work now, so I'll stop. So again, it's where I'm like, I feel like that there's also stuff to address within me. But yeah.
Basically, literature, not languages, need to be, and languages also need to be taught better, but literature just needs to be taught better because there's a heck of a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's not all dry and boring.
Yeah. Well, it's I feel like I'm sort of aware of the time. We should probably be like bringing things to a close soon. But
break in a sec,
but I feel like kind of up and down the sort of the media spectrum, just comedy in general is shunned and overlooked. Like, you for example, just at the Oscars or any other kind of film award, you think how hard it is for a comedy to win Best Picture over any, like if you've got a drama about people sitting in dimly lit rooms looking sad and feeling introspective about the things they've done in the past and the things that they will probably still go on to do, boom, give them all the awards. That's great. Top-notch acting. What a tour de force. Incredible. We need these people in more films. No one goes to pay to see it. But it's great. Give them all the awards. And if you have a film that just kills the audience with laughter, like, how hard is it to write a good joke? to write a lot of good jokes. It's really hard. And it's incredibly difficult to make something that a lot of people will find funny. Yeah. And yet when it comes to award season, it's like it's not even considered. It doesn't even. It's like no, we want to give it to sad man, sad woman, sad couples. Thing about person having a hard time in war, and we'll pick one from like another culture so we can feel good about ourselves. But it's gonna go to man, and like that's it's like comedy's good. Comedy's difficult. Yeah. Comedy's actually an art form. Horror too. Let's talk about horror.
Yeah. Also, hi Angeline.
Hello, welcome in. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Kafka. Only read thing.
Hardly knew her.
I've completely forgotten the name. Bug. Metamorphoses. That's Kafka, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Metamorphosis. No, sorry, not metamorphoses. Is it the Metamorphosis or is it just Metamorphosis? Oh boy, because there are two, and one's Kafka and the other one's someone else. It's a classic, isn't it?
His brother, who can only tell the truth.
Yes, it is good.
I think.
Ovid, thank you.
Wanda Asma. The other stream that we raid sometimes when our timings happen to converge. I think they read it on their stream.
Die Verwandlung. Nice.
Ooh.
The Metamorphosis is Kafka, Metamorphoses is Ovid. Right. Well, I got that very wrong on every count then.
Which one do you need to read first?
Yep.
Where does Metamorphosis...
You're nice. You're reading a book right now that's futuristic urban fantasy, and it starts the main character's sister turning into an insect. You're like, I get that reference. Nice.
Nice.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah, when does Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fit into that?
Gregor Samsa was
contacted by Zordon to go and fight Rita Repulsa.
Yes. He donned his mech suit of insectoidness.
Did Kafka kick off the Animorphs trilogy series?
Oh god. Oh no. Is that a crossover we don't need?
Oh, someone Photoshop like the because like the classic like Animorphs book cover with person, just like turning into animal. Can we get the Metamorphosis? And it's just like Gregor Samsa and a cockroach.
That is a very good idea.
That is social media gold I have just given to the first person who wants to make it and post it. That is, you will be famous if you make that. I'm not gonna, because I'm bad at the arts. No. So whoever goes and does it, there is free internet money in that for you.
Internet money isn't a thing, though.
It could be. Right. Should we go to a break?
Right. Let's go to a break.
Okay. When we get back, speaking of...
Sorry, Metamorphosis is a lot less existential dread than Animorphs? Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard some things about Animorphs.
Okay.
Yes, salad, yes. Yes.
What was that? Yes, salad.
Okay, I won't... You said no promises,
yeah, we're not gonna force you to.
No promises, but also no tixie backsies. So... Yeah.
Anyway, we shall go to a break and then. Oh, actually, wait. We're actually perfectly on like topic for a segue into the game.
Exactly.
Later, because Mothmen, insects.
Those are things.
Yeah.
Moths
well, and also we've got there's not just Mothmen, are there? There's various other animal.
Oh yeah.
People.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. As music
aim to bring to you.
The end from Return of the Obra Dinn plays us out as we go into a break.
Nice.
That's another game I wish we could play again for the first time.
Da da ba bum.
Da 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 da.
Oh, that's one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go to break. What do we want? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
I might make a tea.
Make a tea? Alright, let's give us 10 minutes. Right. You horrible lot. We'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Or so, give or take, roughly, round about that. So yeah, you know what to do. Get up, move around, stretch the limbs that you got, cycle the fluids. And be prepared for Mothman 1966 when we return. Moth. That's the sound they make when they get up on your face when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. Bye for now. Back in a bit. Bye.
Bye.